Hey guys, before we get started with episode 414 with Dr. DeWitt, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what this show is brought to you by. A couple different products. One is called the Amethyst Crystal Biomat. If you guys are unfamiliar with this healing tool, I highly recommend you check them out in our store. They are these incredible mats that you can lay on, and you can put them in your car and drive with them while they're on in your seat, or you can put them on a yoga table. You can get a massage on them. You could do your meditation, or you could read your books on them, or sleep, or put them in your bed and sleep on them all night long. And they are able to emit the far infrared frequency of light through, I think there's about 20 or 30 pounds of amethyst crystal and tourmaline crystal embedded all throughout the mat. And Kate and I have one, and we just love it. We use it for tons of different purposes, for reducing pain, flushing toxins out of the body, increasing circulation. It helps to oxygenate the blood, increases metabolism, helps to burn calories, rejuvenate DNA. They're just awesome. So if you're interested in these types of healing tools like we are, check them out in our store. You can check out, they're called the Amethyst Crystal Biomat. And I also want to let you know that we talked a little bit about the Bellicon rebounders during the show. This is another great tool that we have and that I use every single day for 25 minutes. Jumping up and down on a rebounder is one of the best ways to detoxify the body, to increase circulation, and most importantly, to build bone density, as well as to help detoxify toxins from your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is incredibly important to your body because that's where many of the toxins are stored that you accumulate through your life. That's why the doctors will check your lymph nodes whenever you get sick. So these Bellicon rebounders are just the best rebounders on the market. We have the ones where the legs fold, and it's an invaluable tool for your detoxification and your health protocols and your health strategies and your health goals going into the future. So check them out. We've got lots of people talking about them. You can check them out in our store. You can hear different health practitioners talking about how great the Bellicon rebounder is. So check them out in our store, Bellicon rebounders. Thank you guys so much, and let's get on with the episode. All right, Dr. DeWitt, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, and glad to be here.
Thanks for making the drive, coming all the way down south.
The traffic was a little crazy.
Take the freeway or the coast?
I should have taken the coast, but I took the freeway.
It's a great, perfect day. I mean, it's like the coast would have been perfect.
It will be on the way home.
It will be on the way home.
Yes, it will.
Nice. I want to say I saw your talk on YouTube about you've done a couple different talks on YouTube about eye health, haven't you?
Yep, I have done 3 to be exact. One just over the basic exercises, stretches, etc., and one on nutrition, and one on chiropractic care.
Nice, yeah. I watched one of them, and awesome stuff.
Yeah, why thank you.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you very much.
For those who don't know, Dr. DeWitt is our chiropractor, and he's the author of 20 Surprising Foods for Clearer Vision. I don't know how you crank these books out, man. It's so amazing. Chiropractic care for clearer vision, backed by actual case studies. And you don't need your glasses or contacts, natural ways to correct your vision without drugs or corrective lenses. Feel free to take these off if you want. And a bunch of other books, but those are the most related to the topic we're going to be covering today, which is eye health. And what made you want to start studying this? You know people in your life that are having vision problems? Or?
Well, it's actually kind of funny because when I was a kid, I always wanted to wear glasses because I thought it made people look smart. So I'm like, oh, that kid looks smart because he has glasses, but I didn't need them.
And then the girls, older with glasses, they always look more attractive with glasses.
And I wanted braces too, but my parents didn't give in on that one, so that was a good thing. But the glasses thing, it didn't happen until about 8th grade, and they were like, okay, you can wear glasses, and started wearing those, and it helped with the reading and stuff like that. But then I was playing football too, so I was kind of like, I don't want to wear goggles while I'm playing football. That'd be weird. And so then I just wouldn't wear my glasses when I played football. And that kind of makes it to where you really need to be able to see when you're playing football. And so
it's helpful.
It does
sometimes
help quite a bit. And so it was awful. And eventually I gave in and got contacts, even though I have an astigmatism. And so they said, you can't wear contacts because it won't fix it because you have like an egg-shaped eyeball. And I was like, well, I'm going to get contacts anyway. And then eventually they were like, well, this soft contact works a little bit better. And so I was like, okay. And I tried it and it was okay, but I really touch my eyes a lot. I'm really touching especially when I'm sweating a lot.
Yeah. And
so I got the contacts and it was better, but then you're always getting fingers in your eyes and dirt and whatever. And so it's not a good thing when you have to stop a football game and say, everybody look for my contact lenses. That's not very intimidating.
Opponents aren't going to like that.
Exactly. And so then I just kind of dealt with it for years playing ball. And then,
that's funny.
When I became a chiropractor, I was like, I bet there's a natural way, because I know there's a natural way the body can heal itself pretty much in any other way for arthritis and all these other things. So why don't I see if there's a natural way to correct vision? And 3 years ago, I did a talk and it was very well received. There were like 50 people at the office and they were just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We did a workshop in the office and we had different exercises set up in each room. It was really a lot of fun. And it was one of those things that I was kind of like, wow, I guess people would like to know about this. And I just, it's all about the Bates method. He was an ophthalmologist back in New York, back in 1892, I think it was.
1892.
It's been around for this long. Yeah. And he was doing the same old thing with the prescriptions and he noticed that his patients weren't getting any better. And he was just like, why do they have to continually get stronger and stronger prescriptions? I feel like I'm not actually helping them. There has to be a way to actually heal it. And he felt like glasses were kind of like a crutch for a broken leg and there had to be a way to actually heal the body naturally. And he came up with these exercises and stretches and different breathing techniques and things. And it just was hugely successful. He went through a lot of, as most people do, when you kind of go against the system, he had a lot of backlash and people were like, in New York, they were like, no, you can't do that. And his ophthalmologist friends were like, no, this is not good, because basically they're thinking you're taking away our livelihood if you're just telling people how to heal themselves. We want to sell our glasses.
Wow.
So
what happened to him? Did he get repercussions?
Well, he got taken to court several times, but he at the time had helped so many different celebrities and people like that they went and testified and said, this guy is amazing, and I don't know why people keep thinking, because one of the things that we'll talk about, one of the exercises is called sunning, and people were like, oh my gosh, you're going to burn people's retina and that kind of stuff. And so he had over 50 people show up in court way back then and said, no, we're fine. And celebrity representatives were just like, the author of Brave New World back in the day.
Oh, Aldous Huxley.
Yeah, he was blind actually for 18 months and he did the exercises and he came out and actually wrote another book about vision correction. He was just like, this is amazing.
Really?
And
was sunning like, have you ever heard of sun gazing?
Yeah, same thing.
Is that the same? I did that last night. I watched the whole documentary.
How do you do sun gazing at night?
No, that's a special sun.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
No, but it was, I watched this documentary about it a long time ago. I forget where it was, like Amazon Prime or something, where, this guy actually took it too far and he really ruined his eyes.
Oh, did he?
It was too much. Yeah. He was doing, you know how they recommend just a certain amount, right? Like a minute or something.
Right.
I mean, this guy was doing it for like, half an hour in the morning,
half
an hour in the evening. But, sun gazing is they say it's a really powerful thing to do.
It is very powerful because the heat from the sun helps increase the circulation in the eye, and you get the vitamin D from the sun as well, which is really important. And if you do it correctly, it really stimulates the rods and cones in the eye, which are the special cells that see color and see light and dark. And it really does help. But the important thing is when you do the sunning, you also have to do palming, which is just the opposite. It's because you have the light stimulation, the heat and that kind of stuff. But with the palming, that helps to really see extra dark, and you have your eyes covered and you just really focus on dark, dark, dark. And that actually helps regenerate what they call visual purple in the eye, which is a pigment that's really important to help the health of the eye itself.
So when the palming is done at the same time?
No, it's done after sunning. Immediately after, yeah. That's one of the important things that I found out in the research was that you have to do palming immediately after sunning.
Sun gazing is what all the hippies do these days.
They're
stargazing,
sun gazing.
Yeah, moon baths.
There you go. There you go.
That's crazy. So, what's his name? Bates? What was his first name?
William H. Bates.
He was recommending this back in 1892?
Back in the late 1800s. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the key with sun gazing or sunning is to you really want to make sure you're getting it right before it rises or right before it sets.
Right, and a lot of times people, what they can do is if they have really sensitive eyes, you can do sky gazing where you're not even looking at the sun, you're just facing away from the sun, and just the brightness of just the sky itself can stimulate. It's not as good as the sun gazing, but that works too.
There's something about getting the rays of the sun to hit the eye, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of getting vitamin D, I think, isn't it too? And
exactly. Well, just being out, sun exposure just on the skin itself is good for health.
So, do you wear sunglasses? Like,
no.
What do you think about sunglasses?
The sunglasses actually aren't a good thing. That's something that came about with the pilots, the fighter pilots way back in the day. They had the tinted goggles, so that when they're way up and they're doing the little dog fighting and stuff, that they can see better. And because when you wear sunglasses all the time, that actually can make your eyes more light sensitive. And so you have to try to wean yourself off the sunglasses. The worst thing you can do is wear those glasses that change when you change light brightness automatically, the lenses that get darker when you're in the sun.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, because that's not allowing your eyes to change and adapt, and that's something that's really important.
Is it true that people that have lighter eyes, like light green eyes or blue eyes like mine, have a harder time with brightness?
Not necessarily, no. It just depends on your exposure to light. You can train yourself out of it, yeah.
I can't rely on that as an excuse.
It's not an excuse. You got to get out there and do it, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's funny though, because in the winter time, I've noticed it's harder for me to go without sunglasses. Kate and I were just talking about this the other day walking, because it's weird. It's like these lights here. It's like the whole sky is like this kind of light. It's more
like a glary kind
of white color. And this in the summer, the sky seems to be more blue, and the sun is more direct, and it's easier, even though it's brighter in the center for me, to go without sunglasses. Yeah. But the
horrible winter sun in California.
It's rough. It's rough. It's like 75 degrees. We don't have much of a winter.
No.
But is it ever good? Because what I've been doing with the sunglasses is sort of like, if I'm going to go outside, like if I'm going to walk Maggie down the street or go for a half-hour walk, I might wear the glasses when I'm down near the ocean, so the reflection doesn't get my eye. Right. But then I'll take them.
Yeah, as long as you don't, every time you go out the door, say, oh, I have to put on my sunglasses. That's the biggest thing, is you don't want to be dependent on glasses, because you start kind of building a mental addiction to having to have that. You tell yourself, oh, I can't see without my glasses. I need to wear my glasses. And that's something that I talk about in the book as well, is that you have to start telling yourself just the opposite. Be like, I can see without my glasses. I can see better and better every day. And a lot of the affirmations and that kind of stuff, where the Tony Robbins style, I feel better and better every day. And when you do that, you start subconsciously believing that, and you just have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And that's one of the things too, when you don't want to try to see better, because if you're trying to see better, that inherently puts stress on your eyes, because you're trying. Okay. And it's all about the extraocular muscles, the 6 muscles on the outside of the eyeball that can change the shape of the eyeball itself. And if you're straining and squinting and that kind of stuff, that tension's not going to allow the eye to actually see how it should. You want to be able to be nice and relaxed and appreciate what you can see, even though it might not be perfectly focused right now. And eventually, over time, if you keep practicing doing some of the exercises in the book, then it's going to really, really help you. And as I said, I didn't come up with any of these exercises on my own. They've been around for hundreds of years. I'm just repackaging them and sharing them with people because they seem to want the information.
So it's like this whole weird reliance we have, not just to sunglasses, but to regular glasses too.
Oh yeah.
People get stronger and stronger, like you're saying before, stronger prescriptions. And then you start becoming, like you're saying, it's like a crutch, almost like a cast. You're exactly. There, right? It's like you can't rely on that.
And the sad thing is you've got myopia, which is nearsightedness, where you can see up close, but you can't see far away. Okay. And they're showing that kids are having a higher incidence of that when they're younger. And it's because of all the computers and tablets and cell phones now. And it's a combination of they're focusing up close all the time and not far away. And they're never blinking. They're just like locked on to the screen. And that's not a healthy way to be. And then you're looking down, and that's something that's called text neck now, because everybody's looking down. Oh, man, and that puts pressure on the brainstem, and that affects the cranial nerve and the optic nerve and the oculomotor nerve. And that can affect vision too. And so it's just really, it's a double whammy there. And you have to take a break every hour. You have to look off into the distance. It's what Dr. Bates called shifting, where you're looking up close and then you look far away, and you have to just shift back and forth, just a few minutes every hour to make sure that your eye is staying nice and loose, those muscles, because if they stay focused on one thing up close, then they start to get fatigued, and then they can't adjust like they're supposed to when you're looking in the distance.
So what is it called? Myopia?
Myopia. Yeah.
And then that's nearsighted? That's
nearsightedness. Farsightedness is hyperopia.
So what's causing that? Like, why are people getting farsightedness?
That they're used to looking in the distance and not up close.
So
but then that's another tricky thing. There's also a whole nother condition called presbyopia, which is, they just call it age-related loss of vision, where you just can't see things.
It's just you're older.
You're just older. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating for me, because it's just like the whole arthritis thing. You're like, oh, well, I'm getting older, I'm going to have arthritis. I'm like, nah, it does not have to be the case, but okay. But yeah, and they don't explain, there's no explanation for that either. And
so that's a double, like you
can't see up close or far away. It's just your vision starts getting worse and worse. And it's really interesting because like I was saying, when I went to chiropractic college, I was learning all about the natural ways of healing. And so I started doing a lot of research, and some of the things that I came across were, so if you have tunnel vision, and so it's kind of blurry on the outside, but you can see up front better, then that means that you could have early stages of glaucoma. Okay. And glaucoma is when the pressure inside the eye itself starts to build up, and puts pressure on that optic nerve, and so it can't process the images correctly. Okay. And so one thing that I know, like I said during the research, is that with glaucoma, if you eat more blueberries, the antioxidants in the blueberries specifically, just like a handful a day, but you just have to do it every day, actually has been shown to reduce the intraocular pressure, which can help prevent glaucoma, or it can even help reduce it.
What's going on with the pressure? Like my mom has some sort of issue like that, where she goes and gets her pressure checked in her eyes.
That's when back in the day, they used to blow the air in your eye, and that was to check the pressure when you're at the optometrist. Okay. And now they do it some other way with like a laser, so there's no scary air thing. But it's one of those things where you've got the vitreous humor. It's like a jelly-like material inside the eyeball itself, and you have to always maintain the pressure. And in order to have correct pressure, you have to have, kind of like with a lake, you've got a spillway to make sure that if it gets too much pressure, there's a way for it to escape. Okay. And if that gets clogged, or if you don't have the proper circulation to the eyeball, then it starts to build up that pressure, and it's going to cause headaches, cause glaucoma, because it pinches off that optic nerve. It's a tricky word. So
if people have high pressure, what is that indicative of? What does a traditional ophthalmologist say that could be because I think with my mom, they were saying that she could have the beginnings of glaucoma.
Yeah, that's what glaucoma is, an increased pressure in the eye. That's there's also diagnosis. But then a lot of times too, people go to the optometrist and they look in your eye with the ophthalmoscope, and they're looking for what we call microaneurysms, which are little not starbursts, but little red splotches in the back of the retina. And that's one of the early stages of diabetes.
Really?
And so it's a way, a lot of times that optometrists will actually pick up diabetic.
They'll be the first ones to kind of know.
Yeah. And so you need to change your diet.
So they were also talking with my mom about potential macular degeneration. What is that all about?
Yeah. Macular degeneration, that's the part of the eye that actually, the macula is what focuses the eye. And we have the fovea centralis, which is the main spot that focuses vision, but then the macula is in the back as well. And if that starts to degenerate, it's hard for people to see in the middle. So if you're clear on the outside, back to the tunnel vision thing, tunnel vision, you can see straight ahead, but not on the outside. With macular degeneration, you can't see straight ahead, but it's clear on the periphery of your vision. And all that is that you're not getting the proper nutrition. You need to get more circulation to the eye, because the eye is just an organ. And so all organs are better if you have more hydration and more circulation, because they want that oxygen in there. And so eating more spicy foods, I talked about that in the 20 Foods book. That actually helps increase circulation, because the spicy foods have the nitric oxide, which actually helps increase the elasticity of the arteries. And so even if you have the plaquing and all that in the arteries, it can help loosen that up and reverse that. And I mean, I don't know, I eat spicy foods all the time now because of that, even though I'm not a super big fan, but just because I want to get more circulation.
I do cayenne pepper.
Yeah. That's one of the main things.
How do people, like I'll take a cayenne pepper, just pill, like a little supplement. But people put it in their water. I've never done that. I can't even imagine is that really, spicy hot?
I have never heard of that either. But
people will put it in their smoothies, and I'm just like, I can't imagine.
Well, actually, I think there's a diet where you can do like some sort of juice or something with cayenne pepper and honey, or maybe it's water and honey.
Oh, it's the master cleanse.
Yeah,
it's the lemonade and the
and the spicy. Yeah, I don't know, but I know cayenne pepper is good for you. That's all I know. Yeah.
That's interesting. So is that what's going on with the with those people that have those glasses? You know, they're split. And you see those glasses where the older ladies will look down and they'll have the bottom half of the glasses.
The bifocals?
Yeah. Is that because they have that, what were you talking about earlier? The
presbyopia. Well, actually what happens is with the bifocals, and that's what's so funny too, because with glasses, you know, vision is a dynamic thing. So I'm looking at you, but then if I look just a foot away, my eyes have the ciliary body, which is the muscles around the lens itself, has to have to contract to vary the thickness of the lens so I can focus further away.
Okay.
And so what happens is with the bifocals is you've got the higher like magnifying glass basically on the bottom. So when they're reading, that's why the older people tilt their head back, because they're actually trying to look through the lower part, because it's like a magnifying glass to make it bigger.
Oh, okay.
And then if they're looking far away, they look down because it's different prescriptions. So it's like two prescriptions built into one.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I've always thought that was so strange.
And there's some that have trifocals too.
Oh my god!
And there's a guy on the YouTube channel that made a comment after one of my videos, said that he was using trifocals, and then after doing the exercises, after a couple of weeks, now he was down to bifocals, and his optometrist was like, I don't know how you did this. And I'm just like...
So our optometrists, they're just not taught, like, what do they think about baits and all that?
Oh, I'm sure they think it's crazy, just like a lot of medical doctors think that chiropractors are crazy. And it's just like, because they don't know what they don't know. And I think anything that threatens their livelihood is going to make them nervous. So they're just going to kind of like, oh, no, that's don't do that.
Yeah, there's no scientific studies.
Exactly.
Everything's anecdotal.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, if it works, then who cares?
Yeah. So, who cares if it's anecdotal?
Yeah. I mean, it's scary.
Well, it's weird because you see, you don't see animals in nature.
They're not. Wildebeest run around with glasses on.
Yeah. It's so bizarre. Like how many people, I wonder how many adults there are that need glasses. You know, maybe adults, maybe 40 on.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's got to be a high percentage.
They wear glasses, yeah, but I think they just are going along with the propaganda of you have to wear glasses because you're getting older.
So is it true that if you wear glasses, I mean, I guess it's not true because you're helping people do this, but it seems like if people buy into that idea that that's what they have to do, traditionally every few years, they'll get a stronger thing. And pretty soon it's like a microscope or the bottle. Yeah. Thing, it's so thick. And, but no matter what stage they're in, if they've been wearing glasses for many years, you can still.
Yeah. What you do is it's kind of like one of those things where you become addicted to those glasses and they get stronger and stronger and stronger. And as the glasses and the prescription gets stronger, then your eyes are actually getting weaker because they aren't allowed to work the way they're supposed to. And so those muscles start to atrophy because it's not working the way that.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. So it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. And then when you take your glasses off, of course you can't see because so then you are dependent on those glasses. But the key to that, and obviously everybody's different. If you are almost, legally blind, it's going to take a while, if ever. But you just use your older glasses, because people usually keep their older glasses. I know I had it at one point when I was younger. I had like 6 pairs of glasses, and you use one of the older pair that's not as strong a prescription, and then do the exercises that way so it's still allowing the eyes to work the way they're supposed to, but it also still has the benefit of you're using the glasses a little bit, and then you just gradually get to where you wean yourself off the glasses altogether.
It's kind of like going to the gym and trying to get your trainer to do all the weights for you. It's
right, exactly. Having him do the push-ups isn't going to actually help you at all.
What about the pinhole glasses? I have a pair of those. I should do them just for preventative, shouldn't I?
Yeah, the pinhole glasses are really good because it limits the amount of light that comes into the eye, and it's not for a light sensitivity thing, but it just helps because the area that you actually focus on the eye, the image itself on the retina, isn't very big, and so the more light that comes in, the harder it is for it to focus the light in, and so when it's filtered like that through the pinholes, it makes it easier for it to focus.
Okay, so how often should you do, if you have a pair of those pinhole glasses, how often should you?
You can just start out doing 5-10 minutes a day and then gradually work your way up.
So for someone like me who works, can I do it while working on the computer?
Absolutely.
Or is it? Okay.
Yeah. And that'll help with the radiation from the computer too, because that electromagnetic radiation is pretty harsh.
I was going to ask you about that. So what's the deal? So with the computer itself, looking at screens, you have a few different things going on. You have, especially at night, you have all that blue light, which is dangerous. But if it's just daytime work, you have the radiation from the screen coming, and then just the fact that you're sort of not blinking, that's another issue.
Yeah, staring is awful.
And then the other issue is staring at the small text and all that kind of stuff. So the radiation is affecting your eyes as well.
Right, exactly.
So what's that? So that's coming from phones and everything.
Right. And that's one of the downsides too, like I was talking about with everybody looking at their cell phones and their tablets and their computers. It's just constantly stimulating the brain, and that is going to start to interrupt your sleep as well, because that's one of our things we talk about in the office with sleep, is that you don't want to be looking at any kind of display, cell phone, tablet, anything for at least an hour before you go to bed, because it's just stimulating your brain to keep working, even though you don't really want it to. You can get a regular old book, paper book. I know it's like, oh my gosh,
God forbid.
A paper book.
What is that?
Exactly. And read that, and that actually helps relax your brain and helps it, especially if it's like a spiritual book of some sort, helps you relax and helps you sleep a lot better.
But what about reading a paper book like that? Because I've been doing some research. Some guy that was on our show a while back was saying that even like having light on in your house. So if the light any light that we have in our house is going to emit that blue frequency, which causes what you just said. But he was saying, taking it a step further than, that blue light entering the eye, he was saying that if that blue light touches your skin, so if you have, blue light from just a regular light in your house and you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt at night, that blue light's still affecting your skin.
Right.
And so he was saying that could also cause disturbances too. So he was recommending people, if you do have lights on at home, wear a long sleeve shirt and pants or things like that, which I thought was interesting. But then I thought, when you were just talking about the book, I don't want to have a light on when I'm reading,
right? But
I have to have a light on.
Yeah, you can't read in the dark.
So if you dim your light, is that going to be bad for your eyes?
You don't want to dim the light at first, but eventually it is actually good. That's another wives' tale, that reading in low light is not good for you.
Yeah.
It actually is, because it actually makes the eyes work harder. And when you get to a point when you have the eyes that are healthy enough with the muscle strength around the extraocular muscles around the eyeball itself, it actually is good to read in not super bright light, because that can actually give you a headache because of the light bouncing off the page because of the brightness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever use those blue blocker sunglasses?
I've tried them on before, but I never used them, no.
Yeah, they're awesome, man. They've really affected my sleep in a positive way.
Really?
Yeah, I use those, and I have that Flux program. You have that on your computer?
No.
It's a really cool program. You put in your zip code and your area, and based on longitude and latitude, it'll turn your screen. It'll take all the blue light away from your screen.
That's weird.
So it works on anything.
Oh, wow.
And it compensates for the daylight savings and the time of the year. And so pretty soon it progressively gets more and more orange. So when I'm working at night, if I do work at night, the whole screen is like orange.
Weird.
It's really cool.
What's it called?
It's called Flux. It's
Flex.
It's the website is Just Get Flux, FLUX.
FLUX. Okay.
Yeah, and so when I on the computer at night, I'll have that, and then if I get up, I'll wear those orange glasses. But I always thought that myth of not making sure you have bright light when you're reading.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, really? Okay.
That doesn't seem to make sense.
No.
Because it does make sense. It would make your eyes have to work harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the trick is to that too, is you don't want to squint, because when you squint, that brings more tension. And in California, it causes wrinkles, so we don't, not just in California.
We don't like that.
We don't like wrinkles here. And so
we do what we can to avoid wrinkles.
Exactly. So you need to try to keep nice and relaxed, and instead of squinting, because that means you're trying to see something harder, or trying to see it, try making more effort to see it. You need to blink, because blinking actually creates a natural contact lens over your eye made from the tears when you blink. And so if you blink, you should be blinking at least 20 to 30 times a minute.
That's one of the problems people have, like you said, with computers.
Right, because they're just staring, and when you stare, it starts to dry out the eyes, and that's bad. And another thing, we have patients that have dry eye, and they're like, "Oh, I have these drops. Is that going to help me?" And I'm like, "Well, just eat more fatty fish, like wild salmon and
stay hydrated,
herring, and stay hydrated. Half your body weight in ounces of water every day is critical." And it's so hard. People think, "Oh, that's way too much. There's no way I could do that." And I mean, you have to do that, when you do that, it is amazing the amount of energy that you'll get just from drinking a glass of water.
Yeah.
It's just it's the weirdest thing. I mean, it's like oil for a car. You gotta have it if you want to work at optimal levels. That's what you gotta do.
a friend of mine back in the day would have that problem. His eyes would get super bloodshot because he was a computer programmer.
Yeah.
And he would just work all night, 2 or 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
drinking Coke and
Red Bull and all that stuff. Yeah.
Red Bull. And, he would get up. He would tell me to get up, and it's like I would look at him, and his eyes would be completely just bloodshot, just all this veins, and it just looked horrible.
Yeah, I got something happened to me when I was up in Buffalo playing football one year. I think I must have it was 1997, and it might be when I got a new set of contacts. I don't even recall that part, but woke up one morning and my eyes were totally red. And all the coaches were like, "What have you been doing?" I'm like, "I haven't been doing anything."
Yeah. What are you doing last night?
It was crazy because where the contact was, there was an extra red ring around my eyeball itself. And so I was like, "What? This is crazy." I mean, I looked like I was possessed. It was the weirdest looking thing. And it lasted for like a week, and finally went to an optometrist, and he said that it was some sort of infection or I had dry eye or something. And this was back before I was enlightened, back in the 90s. And they put a couple of tear duct plugs in my eyes. So the tears go across the eyeball, keep it nice and moist. He said that mine were draining too fast and that was drying the eyeball out. So he plugged one of the drains on either side of my eye with these little rubber plastic things or plugs.
So he plugged one of them.
Yeah. Plugged them one on each side, just plugged them in. And I was like, what? He's like, we're just going to stick that in there. I'm like, that makes no sense at all.
Oh my God.
And I still have one of them, and one of them just came out on its own, which was freaky.
So does this affect if you cry or?
No.
Wow.
It's just, and he said that's going to keep the tears on the eye longer since it doesn't drain as fast. I was like, oh, okay.
That's wild.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's some weird stuff out there.
I've heard that rebounding is good for your eyes because
rebounding is good for anything that increases circulation, lymph flow, things like that. Any kind of movement, because you always want to be moving, and that's why staring is bad for the eyes. But that's why a lot of the exercises in the book, like the swaying and the swing and stuff like that, they encourage movement and flexibility of the spine, the nerves, the eyes, everything.
So the eyes are really just a extension of the brain. Is that the
Absolutely.
deal? So that's what they are, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, the brain's right there, and the optic nerve comes right out, connects to the back part of the eyeball. And that's the interesting thing too, because the visual cortex, what happens is the little quantum of light come in the eye through the lens, hit the optic nerve in the back. The optic nerve takes it back to the visual cortex, which is in the back of the brain. And there's actually sutures. And the sutures are where the bones of the skull come together.
Okay. In
the back. And you can actually adjust those sutures of the skull just a little bit. I mean, back in 1867, they thought, the bones fuse and that's it. Uh-huh. But back in 1960, 100 years later, they said, no, they move just a little bit. There's about 1/100 of an inch gap between each of the bones of the skull, has its own connective tissue, its own blood supply and all that stuff. And so you can move those just a little bit and it affects circulation of that area of the brain that's underneath it. So if you work on that part of the brain that's right above the visual cortex, then that's actually going to help you process the images faster and better. So that helps increase vision too.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Did you hear about that guy that died, or I think they said he died, I'm not sure, but he had a serious infection in his eye after sleeping with his contact lenses?
I did not hear about that, no. I slept with my contact lenses once.
So you don't need your contact lenses anymore?
Mm-mm.
Not at all?
I don't need my glasses, contacts, and all that stuff.
How long did you wear them?
Since 8th grade.
So you wore them from 8th grade till when?
For, now I got to think about 13, for about 33 years.
Oh my gosh. So just recently.
Yeah. Just about a year or two ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you completely got off. So were you going down that road of getting stronger and stronger prescriptions? Stronger
and stronger prescriptions. And I was just, like I was saying, with the football, it just made me really want to get a different solution, because I was like, this is not going to work for me because I can't have the contacts.
What do football players do if they do they just wear contacts?
They just wear contacts.
And most of the time they stay in and they're fine?
I guess, yeah. I was weird, I guess. I don't know. I do remember it was so funny when I was playing over in Europe for the Scottish Claymores. We were playing London, and I was a defensive end. I was going against this offensive guy and almost beat him on one play, but he actually, it's so funny because it was a guy I went to college with, and I was going against him, and he stuck his finger in my eye, and it like pushed the contact way back or something. I was like, and so I had to come off the field. the guy that came in for me made a sack the next play, and I was so mad because I was like, I could have gotten that sack. I'm like, jeez, contacts are killing me.
Oh man, they're stealing money from your bank account.
Yeah, it was funny. I was like, I got to figure out a way to fix this, and I didn't really think. I mean, I was really interested by it and thought it was really interesting. And when all the other patients at the office came in and showed such an interest too, I was really just like, oh.
So you did a talk at your clinic, and then you just noticed that there was a lot more people there that day, and then the people that came up to you afterwards were
asking lots and lots of questions. When are you going to do the next one? Was there more information? What about nutritional stuff? What can we do? And I said, well, let's do a workshop, next time or next month. And so we did a workshop, and that was a lot of fun. And I had another 50 people show up. I was just like,
Wow. So it seems like with eye health, as with any other health challenge people are having, it's like a series of different protocols. One is, avoid the things that are damaging your eye, or learn how to mitigate them. The other is looking at a nutritional approach.
Yeah.
And then the other one is looking at more like a physical exercise approach. And some people will go even further and do like the affirmations, or do like write letters to their body parts and all this kind of stuff. But in terms of avoiding, like, what are the main things that we need to make sure that we are very aware of? Obviously, working and looking at screens.
Yeah, the staring is one of the biggest things. And you need to take a break every hour and just look away from the computer. If you have a window nearby,
look outside.
That you can look outside. Yeah, look outside. And the shifting is a really good exercise, which is basically what that is where you have three different things. You have something up close, something in between, and then something far away. And just look away from the up close image. Look at something halfway between, the far and the close, and then at the far, and just do that a few times. And that helps to really make sure that the muscles of the eye are all working in conjunction with each other. Okay.
So you want to do that, and avoid, but man, I can't even look at a screen for more than, 20 minutes. I got to get up and move around because I just can't. It's just too much. It's too much, especially with that program Flux. If you're working on it at night and you have it on where it's mostly orange, and you turn it off, you disable it, and it comes back to what it is in the daytime.
Yeah.
It's so overwhelming.
Really?
You look at it and you're like, oh my gosh. But the blue in the daytime, from what I understand, is a good thing because that's what keeps your body from falling asleep, and that blue frequency. But it is so disturbing, and I suspect that the same thing is going on from an electromagnetic field as well, but we just can't see it.
Right.
And I think that's a bigger problem people know about.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things Dr. Bergman and I talk about, the big popularity with Tesla and all the electronic cars and stuff. And he's like, we worry about the radioactivity and the electromagnetic pulses and all that stuff with cell phones. He's like, you're driving a car with like 12 giant batteries right there down in the trunk of the car. He's like, sorry, I'm not risking it.
Risking my family jewels for that. Exactly. I've heard we're getting one of those tri-field meters. Are you aware of those things? They're little meters that measure the magnetic, there's three frequencies, I forget what the other two are, the magnetic frequencies. But you can basically go around your house and see where you have dirty electricity in the walls or your smart meter, and you can measure it. I've heard people say that when they measure the frequencies coming from like a Prius, it's just like off the charts. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and we haven't had them long enough to know what the long-term effects are. So,
and you're sitting. I mean, how far is your abdomen, and your
like 3 feet?
Yeah, that's got to be pretty bad.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad, I think.
So avoiding looking at screens, or
just the staring part. Yeah,
the staring part. Making sure to blink.
Blinking is really important. Hydration is so important, and I just think the nutritional changes are important because it's going to help people that already have bad eye, cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, things like that. Changing your nutrition is going to help, and obviously all the good nutritional changes you're going to make are going to help your overall system, aches, pains, if you have systemic inflammation, things like that. And when you do that, it's kind of like, with New Year's resolutions, you want to be healthier. And you're like, okay, well, why not do things like if you have vision problems, well then, okay, make these dietary changes that are going to help with any, vision issues you might have, but it's also going to help everything else. And then that's why I came up with, I have a supplement that is, I call it the Vision All-in-One because it has all the different antibiotics and antibiotics, antioxidants and different nutrients, and like zeaxanthin, astaxanthin, lutein, all the really good nutrients that really help make sure you're optimizing your eye health, so that you don't have to worry about, oh, did I have enough eggs, or did I have enough green leafy vegetables? Did I have enough this? You'd have that supplement, and then you're good to go, and you know that you've got all you need those. For those,
that's awesome. Yeah, because antioxidants are huge, right? You want to get that really small particle size, because the eyes are so small in terms of their capillaries. It's hard to get nutrition to the eyes.
Right, and that's one of the big things for hyper-oxygenating the eyes. You have to do what we call an energetic yawn, where you're like stretching and you really open the mouth up and really take in a bunch of air, and that forces more oxygen into the brain and to the eyeballs itself.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's part of the program?
That's part of the program. Three energetic yawns, and there's some different stretches to make sure that the upper extremity, the shoulders and everything are nice and loose, so that you don't have that forward head carriage in the neck. Yeah, you don't want the text neck.
Yeah, I see that, man. I'm starting to see that in so many people.
Oh, I saw a guy the other day sitting on a bench, and he was like all hunched over. I was like, boy, he's like in the fetal position trying to look at his phone.
He's like a U shape, right?
Yeah. I'm like, what?
Ever since I came in and got the workup from you guys at the beginning, and you talked to me about the alignment of the curvature of the neck, right? And then all the different areas, the shoulders, the hips, the knees, and the ankles, and all that stuff. I'm so hyper aware, and Kate and I will be watching TV, or a movie, and we'll pause it, and I'll see someone, and their back is like this, but their neck is coming off at like a 45-degree angle.
It's crazy.
And I'll just pause it, and I'll go up to the TV, and I'll be like, look at this line here, look at this angle of their neck. Yeah. And it's bizarre that, kids now are like, with the cell phones, and
I know, and that's going
to be a problem.
It's going to be a huge problem, because 99% of the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients that we have in the office now have that forward head carriage, because it puts that strain on the brainstem, and so then if the kids are already in that posture, I mean, it's going to affect something behavioral wise, and they could be getting stuff early. That's going to be scary to see.
Yeah, because really, this whole cell phone revolution is only about 10 years old. So I think smartphones, wasn't the first iPhone somewhere around 2005 or 6 or something?
Gosh, I don't know.
Somewhere around there. Like that, so it hasn't been around long enough to where people are looking down so often at their phones. Going back to nutrition, I read something a while back about one of the most damaging foods for the eye is like cooked oils and fried foods. Have you heard
cooked
about
oil? Well, all the fried anything is not good for you.
Really bad.
But one of the things, ironically, that two things that are good for you are coconut milk and olive oil
for the eye.
They're not necessarily cooked, but they're good for the eye, because the nutrients. I mean, coconut's just the miracle food.
For everything. Yeah.
You got for memory, for different sources of energy for the brain, for anti-inflammatory, for antiviral, antifungal. I mean, it fights all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty amazing. And that's important. And olive oil is just one of those things. As long as it's cold pressed and organic, then then you're good to go. I
mean, it makes sense with coconut oil, because we had a few people on our show that were working on Alzheimer's and things like that. Yeah. And one lady, Dr. Mary Newport, was able to have some really good success with her husband, who had, I think, pretty significant Alzheimer's with coconut oil. And it makes sense, because if it's good for the brain, then it's got to be good for the eyes.
Oh yeah,
because like you said, it's an extension of the brain.
Absolutely, and that's what's so crazy too. I know another study that they did with that, where they had an Alzheimer's patient. They had him come in. It was several patients came in, and they said, "Okay, I want you to draw a clock," and they weren't able to remember what a clock looked like, and so they just kind of drew a bunch of squiggles on the page, and it was like, obviously you couldn't tell what it was. And then after only a week of giving them, it was either 3 or 6 tablespoons of coconut oil a day, and that's it. After only a week of that, they asked them to do the same thing, and they drew a circle, and it was obviously that it was a clock. They had numbers and stuff.
So they knew exactly.
So their brain was starting to process stuff better. It's crazy.
Well, I wonder about, I've heard people putting like ozonated olive oil into their eye, or coconut oil into their eye. Like, have you heard about?
I've never heard about putting it directly in the eye.
Yeah, I've heard people doing like MSM, that sulfur compound,
right?
And diluting that in water, and then doing MSM drops in the eye. And that would make sense, because MSM and sulfur is really good for connective tissue. So that would be good for the eye, right?
For arthritis, I've heard of that. And chondroitin and glucosamine, MSM, all that stuff.
That's amazing. So many people with eye issues in today's world.
Yeah, it's interesting because I sent out a survey, and probably 60 to 70% of the people that took the survey said that they were nearsighted, which makes sense because of all the computer stuff. And I was like, okay, well, and they were like, all these exercises are going to work for that. And I'm like, if you're nearsighted, farsighted, you have cataracts, you have glaucoma, you have all these exercises and nutritional tips are going to help you in some way. They will help you. It might not cure you 100% in like a day, but I mean, it can help as long as you're consistent with the exercises and everything, nutritional changes. Yeah, it can definitely help. So
you're a guy who's gotten off his glasses, and so it's pretty. You think it's pretty doable for most people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever.
Absolutely,
to get off their glasses.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Because there's so many people, every other person is wearing glasses.
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny because it's one of those things where you've been exposed to, you have to wear glasses for so long. It's like a paradigm shift, and they don't want to believe that they don't need their glasses. Right. And so I'll sit there and tell them that I don't wear my glasses anymore, and they'll be messing with their glasses, and they'll say, oh, well, I wish I didn't have to wear mine. But then that's all that they won't actually think that they don't have to. Because I'm like, well, what's the difference between you and me? I'm like, I'm not some special case.
I'm not a bionic person.
I know, exactly. But, and I also just wanted to say, that if anybody wants to get a list of the 20 foods, there's a list they can get. They just have to go to relaxtoclarity.com/extreme.
Extreme?
Yeah, for Extreme Health Radio.
Relaxtoclarity. To clarity. Okay, .com.
/extreme.
Okay.
And they can get a free PDF download of 20 foods. Like there's eggs or something that's healthy. Dark chocolate actually is good for you.
Okay. Yeah, it would make sense with the antioxidants.
Yep, exactly. Just think antioxidants. The blueberries, like I said before, there's a lot of nuts that are good for you. Almonds are really good. Cashews are good. Pistachios are awesome because they're high in lutein, which is a really important nutrient for eyes.
What about cataracts? You were just talking about those. What's going on with that?
The cataracts, and once again, I'm amazed that in this day and age that they really don't know exactly what causes cataracts, but it's the protein in the lens of the eye itself start to get cloudy and they start to calcify.
Okay.
And so they actually did a study that showed that in countries that eat more legumes, like lentils and like in India, more lentils and things like that, they have a statistically significant lower occurrence of cataracts. So that's one of the superfoods you can eat if you do have cataracts or you're worried about cataracts. Start eating more lentils and black-eyed peas and things like that. And it's supposedly they don't know exactly what it is in those that fixes it, but they just know that it fixes it. So
isn't that bizarre? Like it's so interesting to me that Kate and I were talking about this the other day, that for how much we do know about what's going on in the body, we still know about of what's actually happening inside the body. We probably don't even know the 10th of 1%.
Oh, I know.
But still, that's enough to help us to overcome cancers and diseases and poor vision.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Imagine if we knew everything about how the body actually worked and what foods and what amounts and how to grow the food and to get the minerals and all this stuff. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things where you're just like, okay, if you're a healthy person, if you have a healthy person and a sick person, you give a healthy person the same medication that the sick person is taking, what's it going to do to the healthy person? Well, it's going to make them sick.
Right.
And so it's like we try to outsmart the body, even though we really, like you said, don't know really how it works or why it works. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, if legumes help prevent or help reduce the effects of cataracts, who cares why it is? Why not just do it?
Just do it.
I know. I'm like, I don't know why you have to.
It may be, 300 years before we figure out what the heck is going on with that.
Yeah.
So, why not just, you're not going to be around it anyway.
I think a lot of times people want to figure out exactly what it is in the legume so that they can extract it and print it into a pill or something and sell it. And so,
someone I was listening to recently was saying the exact same thing about cataracts. He was talking about this whole thing about nanobacteria and calcification. And he was talking about, these calcium forming organisms, which he was calling nanobacteria, is playing a huge role in people, not just with osteoporosis and, breaking down of muscle and arthritis and things, but things like cataracts. He was talking about that's really just what you said. It's a calcification, and you're getting these organisms. And he talks about this whole protocol of finding out where you get or where you're exposed to these organisms, and how to get them out of your body. But he was saying the same thing as like cataracts is essentially a calcification.
Yeah.
Hardening up of what's the actual
the lens itself.
The lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's a couple of other guests on our show. We'll talk about like the sort of the spiritual kind of stuff about that. And he'll talk about like, what is it in your life that you're trying to not to see and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I've read about some of that too.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff.
It's really interesting. So it seems like you could apply like a 4-layered approach or a multi-layered approach in these two. But that's the thing is when people have these issues, it's important for people to know that there are options that they're not going to really hear about from their traditional doctors, and to take their health in their own hands and actually go out and buy a book or spend a little bit of money and buy a course or whatever it is to sort of be your own health advocate.
I mean, and if it's something that is using natural organic foods or exercises you can do at home and things like that, then, I mean, it's not going to hurt you. Yeah. So why don't at least just give it a shot? But the thing is, you can't give it a shot with I don't think this is going to work attitude. You have to actually be like, I'm all in. I'm going to give this, a month or 2 months to try. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, well, then I'll take a next step. But really give it a really good try. So
I know you pretty well, or somewhat well, and we're in a mastermind together. And I know you're really big on affirmations and these types of things, and having a focused, determined mindset. I think that's really important for people. I think it's one of the number one things, because if you stop getting if you're not getting the results that you want with your eye health, if you're not improving your vision, what's going to be the number one thing that causes you to just abandon a natural alternative? It's going to be your mindset saying,
"So this doesn't work.
It's not working."
Yeah,
and so it doesn't work maybe because you've subconsciously told yourself it's not going to work. I don't know.
Well, and that's easy to do when every day you're looking on TV and they're talking about lens crafters and go get this and get an extra pair for free and all this stuff. And it's just like, because we don't like to stand out from the herd. We'd like to be like, well, everybody else is doing this. Why do I need to do something different? And be like, well, because this is healthy and works. And then eventually some of the herd will come with you and be like, oh, really? Okay. And then they'll start doing it too. Yeah. It's just people are scared to stand out.
Yeah. It's funny because if we were to live long enough to actually see what the ramifications of wearing glasses are, if we lived for 500 years, say, and someone had to get glasses at age 50, what would happen? Would they just eventually become blind? Because they need
without the glasses.
Stronger
it'd be like they'd have microscopes up there to be able to see. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just like a blindness that you're going through, but it takes a long time.
Right. It's a very long,
that's weird,
kind of deterioration of that organ because you don't need it. It's like you have a splint on your leg and you walk around with that for 30 years. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to walk without that splint because your muscle won't be able to support you.
Yeah. That's so bizarre. Yeah. So one of the things, that's so funny. So what did you say to that guy who said to you, oh, I wish I could get off my glasses. That's awesome that you got off yours. Did you say anything?
Well, I said, book's right up there. I mean, I did it. I'm not some special person. You can do it too. And he's like, oh, no, I'm too old. And we hear that all the time. I'm too old. Be like, you are constantly regenerating. You have a new skeleton every 18 months, 16 to 18 months.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. You got a new blood supply every 120 days. I mean, we're always regenerating. And as long as you're putting good stuff in, it's just like a computer. Good stuff in, good stuff out. You put bad stuff in, it's not going to work the way it's supposed to.
I think it probably comes down to, like you said, they just don't think that's possible, or they don't want to do the work. It's easier to put on glasses.
Yeah. People don't want to think. They're like, just give me a pill or give me a shot or something, and then I'm good. Be like, oh, okay. That's a scary thing too. We're going to do a webinar from our cruise at sea next month, talking about vaccines, and it was really.
I can't wait for that. It's going to be good.
It's really interesting because. I was talking to Dr. Bergman about it before and some of his different theories of what's going on. And he, I don't know if he would want me to share this or not, but he said that, in California, they're eventually wanting adults to be required to get vaccines too.
I've heard that.
And he said that he put some pieces together with some of the research he had done. And, what it's going to be is kids getting whooping cough. And he's going to say the vaccinated kids got whooping cough, but they didn't get it from unvaccinated kids. They got it from the parents that weren't vaccinated.
That were not vaccinated.
Exactly. So they're like, so our parents, do you not care about your kids? And that's how they're going to get people to be like, oh, okay.
I do care. Wait a minute.
And he's like, these, I'm telling you, the marketers they have out there for that kind of stuff.
They're genius.
I'm like, whoo, that's going to be creepy if that happens.
So they're going to push it in that way.
Yeah, they're going to make it look like, don't be an irresponsible adult getting kids sick.
But are they going to make it so it's like a guilt trip for not doing it, or are they going to make it mandatory?
No, they're going to make it mandatory, but that's how they're going to kind of get that foot in the door to really start make people thinking about it. And then it's not only, you're getting your kid's getting my kid sick. It's going to be like, you're getting my kid sick, and you can't see your niece or nephew until you get your vaccine. Well,
they're starting to do that, aren't they? With like, people who work in childcare.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they all have to get vaccinated. I think people that, school teachers and things, I think they have
They're supposed to. I don't know if there are, they've made it really hard to get out of it. And it's scary in California right now.
By the way, if you guys are interested in the webinar, that's for members only, but,
they can have guests watch too.
Okay. So, well, it's on Owner's Guide, right?
Yeah.
And that's a site you do with Dr. Bergman. Mm-hmm. The both of you together, and you did your first webinar last Friday. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was last Friday. It was so much fun, and it was very well received, well attended. And the neat thing is after the webinar, we do a replay for 72 hours, so you can go back and watch the replay of it, and then you can email questions, and Dr. Bergman will answer them as well.
On privately, or how does that work? The question.
The way it's set up, if you have a question during the replay, you click on there's a button that says I have a question, and you click on it, or it says email, I think. Mm-hmm. And I'm new to the software, so I'm not exactly sure what it says. But you click on it and type in your question. We'll get the question, and Dr. Bergman will answer it in an email.
So people want to get this, they have to sign up to be a member of
the Owner's Guide site. Yeah,
Owner's Guide site, and then they're going to be getting a routine session is of these, like many.
It's every month we'll get the webinar. They will get the webinar. It's for members only. And then we do a lot of other new things. We're in the process of updating the site. So it's just going to be a whole bunch of new video courses and specific members only content, things like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, you guys did a great job of your first episode or your first webinar. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We don't have a lot of space in that office, so he was like right there, and then you can see me kind of sitting there off to the side. Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm right here, and I was like, hey, somebody just asked a question, but it was fun. Yeah,
that was super cool. So, you said at the beginning of this show that you had a astigmatism. Is that what you said?
Yeah, astigmatism.
Is there a difference between astigmatism and sty?
Yeah. A sty is just like an infection in the eye, and astigmatism is when the eyeball itself is not spherical, but it's kind of oblong, like an egg shape.
The whole eyeball.
The whole eyeball itself, yeah.
Okay.
But
that's astigmatism.
That's an astigmatism, and they used to think, oh my gosh, that is impossible to fix. You're out of luck. We have specific exercises that help reduce that. And all it is working on those muscles on the outside of the eye that can pull in different ways to help change the shape of the eyeball, and then it makes it fine. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is part of the exercises the pinhole classes?
Yeah, there's some information in there, yeah.
And so those you can get anywhere, right?
Yeah, they're like $10-12, something like that. You get them online.
Because it seems like you should be able to live into your 70s and 80s with not having any glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
It would be like if your arm just stopped working and everyone just was okay with that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we did have a patient that came in during one of the talks, and she's 72, getting ready to go for her driver's test, and she was stressing out about her vision because she was like, I have to take my vision test. I don't know. I'm all freaked out. And she came up during the talk, and I pulled up one of the eye charts, the Snellen eye chart on the screen, and I said, okay, what's the lowest line you can read? And she read like the third from the top, and I was like, okay, now do some of these exercises. And she only did the exercises for like a minute. And then I was like, okay, open your eyes. Now what's the lowest you can read? And she could read like 2 lines further down.
Wow.
And it was crazy. I mean, it freaked me out because I didn't like set it up or anything. So I'm like, I hope this works or I'm going to feel really stupid.
Yeah.
And, she actually told me she went in to get her test at the DMV last month, and they said, she passed, didn't miss a single one. She was all nervous. And I told her she was going to be nervous. And I said, make sure you relax, do your breathing, because deep breathing's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Said she passed flying colors. She's good to go.
Did she continue the exercises from then until the test?
Yep, absolutely.
what would happen if she were not to continue those exercises? Can you get a long-term benefit from doing, I guess it'd be like doing a bench press at a gym. I mean, eventually it would atrophy again.
Yeah, eventually it atrophies and you have to do some maintenance exercises, but not nearly as much.
That's interesting. Gosh, I mean, results at 72. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What is going on with I don't understand the numbering system, the 20/20 vision, the 20/40 vision. What is all that about?
Well, the lower it is, means the better you can see. So if it's like, if you're at 20/20, that means that you can see from 20 feet what you should be able to see at 20 feet.
Okay.
If it's 20/40, that means that at 20 feet, it looks to you like it's 40 feet away.
Oh,
and so then if you're like lower than 20, that means even though it's 20 feet away, it looks like it's 10 feet away. So the lower the number, the higher and the better your vision.
Okay, so they're using the first 20 to be the sort of gauge,
right?
The amount of space between you and something. So if you have 20/10,
right?
That's
really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
I wonder what the best vision someone's ever had is.
That's an interesting
20. It would be 21.
Yeah.
20 and 1 foot.
20 and a half.
20 and a half.
20 and 6 inches.
Oh man, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
So, your website is, for those webinars that people can get access to, it's Owner's Guide.
That's ownersguide.com. Yep.
Is it Owner's Dash Guide or?
There's a hyphen or dash between. Yeah.
And then, relaxtoclarity.com.
Yeah, that's the vision site.
That's cool.
And the cool thing about that site is it's like $9.95 a month, and members actually get a 20% discount on all the products on the site. So there's the books, the supplements, all that stuff. Yeah. A
little side issue. Do you have any idea what floaters are?
Floaters, yes. People always ask me this. And
eye expert.
Yeah, the floaters. So we got the vitreous humor in there, which is kind of like a jelly consistency. And as we age, different parts of the retina can actually start to pull off a little bit, and then they kind of float around, and you see them look like glowworms sometimes and things like that. And that's a relatively normal anomaly, so it's not anything to panic about.
Okay.
But and a lot of times, if you're in a white room or something, you really can see a lot of them. It's if you have a big flash of light, that means that some of the retina a large portion has torn off, and that's when you need to go see an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, because you could have what they call a detached retina. And if the detached retina, the movie screen basically that the image is showing on, gets torn off, then that's really going to cause a lot of vision issues.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the way to help prevent that is to do the spicy foods, the cayenne pepper and things like that, and do the yawning and the hydration, because that's going to get more circulation to the retina, and that's going to make sure it stays nice and pliable and healthy.
You know, there's a guy on our show that did a whole thing on urine therapy, and he was talking about doing urine drops in your eye.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'll pass on
that. Yeah, floaters is a big thing. People often talk about, and they're always worried about them.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. People ask me a lot, and I'm like, you're going to be all right.
Isn't it bizarre how your eye switches the image? Like doesn't your brain switch image? Isn't that bizarre?
Because when it hits the retina, it's upside down, and then it flips it. And the craziest thing too, they did a study. I was watching this on Discovery Channel. They gave it was really funny, because in the particular example, to make it more entertaining, it was at a wedding. And the guy or the groom and the bride, they gave them glasses that flip the image back the right way.
Okay.
And so then everything looked upside down. And so then they were all like, whoa, and they're trying to figure out and like to say their vows and to kiss each other at the end, and they're all over the place. And then, but it only took about 30 minutes, and their brain flipped it back the right way.
Oh,
so it shows that your brain is actually what sees. It's not your eyes. It's your brain. And then they get another example where everything was shifted 30 degrees to one side or the other, and it took about 30 minutes for it to switch.
Wow.
And then when they took the glasses off, they couldn't see because their brain was still thinking the glasses were on, and it took another about 30 minutes or an hour. And then,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
You know what the hippies are doing? They're doing inverted sun gazing.
What, like standing on their heads? And
like doing the upside down inversion therapy and doing the sun gazing.
Interesting. And get more circulation, I guess. Yeah, makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final question that's not eye related, but I've been hearing about this thing lately since you're our chiropractor. What is the Pettibon system for chiropractic?
It's way to, there's different things. The Pettibon measuring system for x-rays, it shows the different areas like you would mark on the x-ray. from C2 down to C5, from C being cervical, and then from the fifth cervical down to the second thoracic, from the second thoracic down to the sixth, and then you go from the fifth lumbar up to the third, and then from the third up to the first, and then connect the two. And that's one way. And then you just do angles measuring exactly what the degree of alteration off of straight up and down is.
Okay.
And then they have other different Pettibon techniques or actual adjusting techniques where they apply weights and braces and things like that to actually pull people back into shape.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. We don't do the actual Pettibon adjusting technique with the weights and things like that, but we do marker x-rays based on his philosophy. Yeah. Are they into rotational adjustments or just elongation adjustments? That is a good question. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. I've heard about the Pettibon system, but you guys do like a sort of a hybrid approach of all these.
Of everything. Cause Dr. Bergman's always going and learning new techniques, and he'll go off and get the latest thing. One of the big things was, cranial adjusting Turner style that he learned up in Canada. Brought that back, and all the other docs in the office, we watched all the videos and went through the manual and trained on it at lunch. And so now we're doing that. That's one of the things with the cranial bones. That helps a lot.
What's cranial sacral?
Cranial sacral is just based on, you do cranial work, but you also work on the sacrum at the base of the spine.
Okay.
And you also have the sacro-occipital technique, which is you start at the sacrum and then you work your way up to the occiput.
Okay.
So it's just different variations on similar things. With the SOTs, what they call the sacro-occipital technique, they use a lot of blocking to change. You put little triangular cushions under one part of the pelvis and then one part of the hip, and just kind of lets gravity work on the spine and realign it that way.
Wow, that's amazing. So many different techniques.
Yeah. I mean, there's hundreds of them.
Are there more coming up? Like, is it something that can be innovated?
Oh yeah, you can always come up with new techniques. We're actually coming up with a certification program we're going to call it, Corrective Chiropractic Systems. And it's going to be us teaching exactly how we do what we do. And there's a manual involved, lots of video stuff and trainings. And that's something that's in the works. Hopefully it'll be ready in the next 6 months.
Wow.
But that's just because we've had so many patients from all over the world that call or go on YouTube, and they're like, is there somebody in Australia that does this? Is there somebody out here in the UK? And it's like, no. And I said, we need to have a site that says, get these guys certified, and then have a list so that you can just look up your state or country and be like, oh, this guy's here. Yeah, to make it easier.
Good stuff on vision, I have to say.
Thank you.
Do
you see clearly now?
I see clearly now. Isn't that the title of Wayne Dyer's book?
I think so.
I can see clearly now. I've been very fortunate to never have needed glasses, and I have friends that have needed them since childhood. And, I started changing my diet when I was about 27, I think, and started really doing lots of
last year.
Yeah, just a young buck,
young pup.
But it's something that I definitely work on and I'm aware of, and I'll get up and it's because, man, if you have your eyes go, that is just like, if you were to say, okay, how much money would you put, is it worth it for you to if you were blind, how much would you pay to have your vision back? And people would pay anything.
Yep.
But for the whole duration of our lives, we're just taking this stuff for granted. It's amazing. Like, there's a guy at my gym who's he's paralyzed, and I think he did it in a skiing accident. He's about in his mid-50s. And I just think about the same thing. It's like, we take just walking for granted, and seeing, and all these amazing things we can do. And not only do we take it for granted, but we don't do anything to prevent eye health.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because when I was a kid, I got poked in the eye by my cousin, and they were afraid that he had scratched my retina or scratched something. And I was 6 years old, and they had to put an eye patch on my eye for a week.
Did you have a monocle after that?
No, I should have, but it scared me to death because it was one of those things where, I was a kid. I didn't think about my vision at all. Yeah. And he poked me in the eye. I had that eye patch on, and literally the optometrist was like, we're going to take this off in a week. And hopefully you would have healed yourself, because I don't.
What eye was it? The left eye?
I think it was my left eye.
Your left eye?
Yeah. And because I couldn't open my eye for some reason, I don't know what had happened. I would try to open it and just be like, it hurt too bad. And luckily after a week, it was fine, because I was trying to I'm not going to be a pirate the rest of my life.
Oh man.
But yeah.
You know, I often wonder, one final thing before we'll be done. If you're in the shower and you accidentally get a little bit of soap in your eye, and is that really bad? Because that happens to me sometimes. Yeah, but we use organic soap, and I tell myself, okay, it's organic, you know.
Right. Well, it stings really bad. I mean, your body's smart, and it's going to hurt if it's bad. So then you just flush it out, and your eye's automatically going to create more tears to flush it out. So, yeah, you're fine.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering about that. All right, so just a random side question. So it's relaxtoclarity.com/extreme.
Yep.
Or if you just want to go to the website. Is there anything there just at relaxtoclarity.com?
Yeah, just relaxtoclarity.com, and that'll there's people that sign up get 12 video tutorials of me doing different exercises and stuff.
Awesome.
Wow. And I'm always adding more stuff, so it's going to be way bigger than it is now.
Awesome. Cool. And the other site is Owner's-Guide, if you guys want access to the webinars.
To the webinars and a lot more stuff soon to come as well.
Is there a community in that site?
There is we have a forum, we have a private Facebook group, there's all kinds of.
So people can ask questions and interact with each other. That's cool.
And even on the site itself, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page and wait for a minute, then a little pop-up will come up that says, that asks for feedback, and you can send us a voicemail via email.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Doc, for coming in.
You bet. Thanks so much.
All right, so if anybody wants the show notes to this show, it's going to be episode 414. So if you want to grab the show notes, it is extremehealthradio.com/414. And if you know anybody in your life that has eye issues or eye challenges, pass the show on to them. We would appreciate it. We all would, and it would be a great benefit to them to learn about how they can overcome their eye challenges and eye health issues. So please do that, and pass the show on Facebook as well if you can. That would be incredibly helpful to all of us. That way your friends can have access to this information for free. So we appreciate you guys joining us. We really appreciate it so much. Thanks for sharing our shows, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, so Dr. DeWitt, that was a fun show. Unfortunately, Kate was unable, as you probably know by now, to be on the show today, but she was there in spirit, and she was able to hear the show. So that was just a lot of fun, you know. And Dr. DeWitt's a great guy. We see him for our ongoing chiropractic support. Him and Dr. Bergman up in Huntington Beach, California. If you guys haven't been able to visit their clinic, I would highly recommend you do that. They are just some cutting edge people, and we've had Dr. Bergman on the show, I think maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 times now. And as we're talking about during the show about the latest webinar he did, I'm really looking forward to the upcoming one that he's going to do on vaccines. And it was an interesting side note that Dr. DeWitt mentioned about the vaccinations and how they're going to try to get an inroad through guilt, through the child to the parents, and basically telling the parents that if you love your children, then you will get vaccinated because otherwise they're going to get sick. I thought that was just so interesting, so fascinating. Interesting how they're going to use a little psychological ploy to divide the families up a little bit, and to create this sort of divide. And that seems to be a way that the government works, isn't it? They like to divide us up and make us feel like we're separate from one another, and make us feel like we are not connected to our brothers and sisters. And they try to, and even me with using the word they as if they're any different than me. We're all sort of one. And so it's interesting that when I use the word they, you know what I mean, but it's also interesting that they are a part of us. We're all one singular organism. And so, for lack of a better term, I'll just continue saying the word they, but they do like to make it seem like there is such a thing as men and women, and black and white, and different races and different income differences. And I just find it really interesting that it's sort of like the old divide and conquer. So Kate and I were talking about this during the a little bit ago, is that if they do this in California, where they start making it mandatory, with vaccinations, we're going to find a new place to live, because this is just not acceptable, and it's not something that we're going to stand for. And they're already starting to do it to some degree by making life a little bit more difficult to live, and they're going to continue doing that. They're just going to they're not going to say it's illegal for a parent not to get vaccinated, but what they're going to do is sort of tie it to other benefits and privileges that we're already accepting. And by accepting the benefits and privileges, that's called an implied contract. And when you are the recipient of an implied contract, then you automatically accept the terms. And so of that contract, whether you know them or not. That's why when a cop pulls you over and cites some law that you don't know, you're guilty, whether or not you know the law or not. And that's because it's called what's called an implied contract. So interesting, the avenue they're going to try to take here in California, at least. And as so goes California, as the rest of the nation. So I'm sure the rest of the states are going to be looking at how this goes here in California. So interesting ideas. So in terms of the eye health too, I thought that was very, very interesting. All the stuff we talked about. We did a show a while back too with Dr. Ed Kondrot. If you guys are interested in even more information about eye health, you can listen to that show that we did. Very, very interesting show about eyes that we did with him. And he's written a book also. So if you are dealing with glaucoma, macular degeneration, cataracts, all of these different eye issues, just know that there's hope. And if you are desirous enough to want to make changes, then you can make changes and you can actually get the results that you want. But man, is it a tough road? Is it challenging? Is it going to take everything within you? But I think that's kind of the mission. That's kind of the call that we all hear as listeners of Extreme Health Radio. I get emails every day from people that are on their own health journey, and I'm sure you are as well. And man, it's just amazing, isn't it, that everyone's on their own health journey, and some people are sort of able to eat whatever they want, and they don't seem to show any ramifications of their diet. And I saw this video today where this model in New Zealand was showing what her diet's like, and she's able to eat these incredible 10,000 calorie breakfasts full of milk and bacon and eggs and fruit and pancakes and waffles and all this stuff, as well as these incredible desserts, 3 or 4 pounds of ice cream at a time. And it's unbelievable what people can put through their bodies. But make no mistake, at a cellular level, things are happening. You just can't see it. And so the next time you think, why does so-and-so, in my family, or why can my friend eat anything they like and nothing seems to happen to them? Well, just know that things are happening, and things are happening to people, whether it's good or bad. And so just know that the food that you eat and the diet that you adhere to is the number one way that we all connect with God and with the earth. And it's easy to think that that's not the case, but the way we interact with the earth is through the food that we eat and the food that it provides and God provides for us. And so food is very much a spiritual tool. And that's why we always talk about spirituality and emotions and psychology and mental mindset. All these things play a huge role. I think they play the number one role in our health and healing modalities. So if you are dealing with any kind of eye issues, look into all the stuff. Look into owners-guide.com. That's the website that Dr. DeWitt and Dr. Bergman have set up. Highly recommend that website, as well as his other website that we mentioned. We'll put everything on the show notes too, if you guys want to listen to the show notes. But I thought that was a really interesting show. I love having people in studio. That's the most fun for me, when people get to come by and join us and have a good time in the studio. We get to have a good conversation, and it's much more relaxed, and it's I think it's much more entertaining and fun to listen to as well too. Whenever I listen to other shows where they have guests in studio. It's much more fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Next time we're going to have Kate on. She should be on the Friday show coming up here this Friday. We're going to be learning about EMFs and electromagnetic frequency radiation with, what is his name? Lloyd Burrell, I think his name is. Lloyd Burrell. So we'll have him. He's going to be patching in from France, I think it is. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to get to the nitty gritty with this dirty electricity, the 60 hertz phenomenon that's having an impact on our blood sugar levels and diabetes and our melatonin and serotonin levels, as well as the whole grounding idea. And so we're going to be talking and digging into a lot of these issues with Lloyd, and he's got a great website, electricsense.com, I think, or .net. Maybe it's .org. I'm not sure. Electric Sense. We just purchased a tri-field meter through him. We wanted to support him, so we decided to go through his link and buy the tri-field meter. So we'll be reporting on some of that during the show as well. So pass the show on to your friends. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We really appreciate you guys. Let us know if we can help at all. If you can, share our shows. The best way you can thank us is to share our shows. But like I said before, all of our shows are free. All of our shows are available at no cost to you, and we're going to be continuing to ramp up the shows and to provide free content for you guys. And the way we do that is when you guys patronize our store and you bookmark our Amazon link. That's a great way to support us because everyone makes purchases on Amazon. So if you're able to bookmark our Amazon link, that's a huge way, and you just use the bookmark every time you make a purchase there, and that should support us. So I believe that's how it works. Or you could just go to our website every time you want to make a link to, but that way you have to remember to go through our link at the time that you make an Amazon purchase. But for those of you that do that, we thank you so much. It's awesome, and we just can't thank you enough for that. It's so much. It's just so helpful, and it's so great knowing that so many people out there are helping us. And but if you want to take it a step further, like I said, you can always share our shows on Facebook, bookmark us on Amazon, and patronize our store that's on our website. But what a lot of people are doing, because they enjoy the shows that we do, is what they'll do is they'll donate either a one-time donation via PayPal. Lots of people do that, and we thank you guys for that. That's very huge. We are just so appreciative of that. Also, you can also donate on an ongoing basis via a website called Patreon, and there's links for that at the top of our website. And that is a really cool tool because you can donate to us on a per podcast basis, or you can set it up to where it's, you donate 25 cents a show. We do 4 shows a month. That's $1 a month, and then it comes out of your account at the beginning of the month one time. So that's really beneficial too. So many people are donating very small amounts, and that's what really helps us the most, actually, is when a lot of people donate a small amount, and that's very, very helpful to us. So if you would consider doing that, if you can afford $1 a month or $2 a month, some people even donate $15 or $20 per podcast. If you're able to do that, that's even better. But any little bit is awesome. We're going to continue doing all of our shows. We're going to continue providing free content. So whether you help us or not, that's sort of just an added bonus for us. If you can, that would be awesome. If not, just sharing our shows on Facebook is awesome enough. So thank you very much for being a part of everything we have going on. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll catch you guys on the next episode on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure to tell your friends if they are interested in this kind of stuff, and we'd appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys then. Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That was so good.
Oh my gosh.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care.
Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions,